Oh, look, this is great. I can't believe you've agreed to come in and help us out with this.
Tony, I've been here before.
When did you actually become a fan of Get This?
I guess during the course of last year. I can't put an exact time on it. It wasn't a Damascus Road conversion.
Now, you yourself used to be in a comedy team.
Yes.
What were you called again?
Wastage and Seepage.
That's right. Which one were you?
Seepage.
Yeah, you guys were pretty funny.
Well, you assert that.
Yeah, there's quite a few clips of you on YouTube.
Yes, I know there are. But
do you mind if I just throw a setup at you, see if you've still got
it? Please do.
Okay. I was reading Glenn Milne's column on global warming on the weekend. How much do you reckon he'd had to drink before he wrote that one?
That's an impossible question for me to answer, but it's certainly a large amount. I can't tell you the precise figure. It's obviously thousands of gigalitres.
Yeah, that's pretty good, but I think you're labouring it a bit, making it a bit obvious.
But Tony, I'm saying whether it's obvious or less obvious or more obvious is not really the point.
Yeah, I just reckon it'd work better if I kind of talked over you up until the gigalitres line. Just try it again. Mr. Howard, how much do you reckon he'd had to drink?
That's an impossible question for me to answer.
Come on,
but it's certainly a large amount.
Yeah, a large amount.
I can't tell you the precise figure.
Come on, how much?
It's obviously thousands of gigalitres.
Well, what do you think?
Well, it's a very interesting technique to keep talking through me.
Yeah.
But if you don't mind, I'm trying to provide a response.
Right, so you're not into overlapping dialogue?
No.
Very good. Very good.
It's a question of how you do it.
Well, I'm glad you're here to lend your expertise, because we had a lot of complaints about a recent sketch where we chopped up an interview with you to make it sound like you were talking about Richard Marsland and the Australian flag.
Well, I think it can be pushed too far.
You claim he was inserting the flag into his own bottom.
Well, I think it can be pushed too far.
Yeah, okay, all right. But now we're having to find ways to squeeze more music into the show.
Well, I accept that it is a challenge, and if nothing is done about it, the consequences could be very serious.
Apparently, we're not playing enough Hinder.
I find that hard to accept.
So we've really got to take a look at all of the segments. Which ones do you think are working the best?
Well, I would think at the moment, very few, if any.
We've got a great new idea, Cape Rule. Everyone in Australia wearing capes for a month.
There have been plenty of examples in the past where those sort of scenarios have been embraced and they haven't been realised.
Yeah, well, that's not always been our fault.
Well, look, I'm not trying to apportion blame.
Yeah, so let's leave Ed out of this. He's already had 2 new ideas this year.
I don't think we should be into exaggeration.
Very good. Look, there's not a lot of new ideas here. Do you think the public would go for a segment called Richard Marsland's Dirty Sanchez Masterclass?
The answer to that is no.
Then he wants to reenact the opening scene from Short Bus on Mornings with Kerry Ann.
That would be ridiculous.
Oh, God, we've got nothing. I've got to face management this week. What can I do?
Well, you can do a whole lot of things.
Yeah,
but Tony,
right. Hang on. Hey, that's great. That thing where you don't actually answer the question. How do you do that?
Well, there are certain ways.
Right, like just throwing the question back at the person asking it?
That's one way of doing it.
Like if I was to ask you, Mr. Howard, this new 2-hour show, will it be more expensive?
Yes, Tony, I think it will become more expensive.
Yeah.
Whether it becomes much more expensive depends a bit on what you mean by much more expensive.
Ah, brilliant. But what I need is an all-purpose answer for anything.
Well, that would be a matter for a future government.
Oh, perfect. I'm going to kill at this assessment.
I'm sure you will.
I'm going to be the next...
Wastage and Seepage.